Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
More psychiatric care is coming to San Diego County. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amita Sharma in for Maya Trabulsi. The Board of Supervisors approved an agreement with UC San Diego Health to expand behavioral health care at its East Campus Medical Center. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas says it's a response to a growing need.
The county is loaning up to $32 million to the university to expand its psychiatric inpatient facility and crisis stabilization unit. The services will be offered at the former Alvarado Hospital in the college area, specifically for Medi-Cal beneficiaries.
People at UCSD's East Campus will come disproportionately from areas surrounding it, where we do see higher rates of Medi-Cal enrollment and also higher rates of need and often unsatisfied need for behavioral health care in the immediately surrounding area.
The crisis stabilization unit will provide emergency care for up to 24 hours. For those who need longer treatment, the inpatient beds will provide 24-hour care for adults with severe mental health needs. Bergman says these services can help divert people from emergency rooms and unnecessary hospitalization. Josh Bohannon with Father Joe's Villages says it will help service providers connect people with the level of care they need. Bohannon says they have staff who can help people in crisis.
But reality is, after we help stabilize someone, there's nowhere for them to go. Our shelter beds are not the right fit for people experiencing severe behavioral health crises or issues.
Along with expanding care, officials say the new facility will provide training opportunities for an in-demand workforce.
We're really fortunate that the location of our East Campus is right next to SDSU, and so building partnerships with San Diego State as well as with our own campus and others, you know, we hope to develop social work and nursing as well as residents and fellows, and really the full continuum of workforce that we will be able to bring in and train and help develop.
UC San Diego will repay the loan to the county with interest over 30 years. They expect the expanded facility to open in about 20 months. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. High pressure will dominate the forecast here over the next couple of days, so I am tracking sunny skies here for the rest of the week. It's going to be nice, even though it will be breezy from time to time, but I am watching that next chance of rain as we head into early next week. I'll have that updated forecast coming up.
World leaders are in New York City for the 79th United Nations General Assembly to discuss global issues and highlight their country's priorities. President Joe Biden delivered remarks for his fourth and final time as president. As Brian Abel reports, Biden made the case for U.S. leadership while seeking to cement his legacy on the world stage.
My fellow leaders. In the final address of his presidency to the United Nations General Assembly, President Joe Biden starkly laying out the challenges facing the world.
War, hunger, terrorism, brutality. I know many look at the world today and see difficulties and react with despair, but I do not.
The president opening his speech by recounting the global crisis he witnessed upon entering public office more than 50 years ago, citing the end of the war in Vietnam as proof reconciliation is possible.
Even from the horrors of war, there's a way forward.
The message coming amid an escalating crisis in the Middle East. Israel and Hezbollah trading increasingly devastating strikes across Lebanon's border. And U.S. efforts to broker a ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas in Gaza are at an impasse.
Full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible.
Biden also calling on the assembly to stand against Russia and continue aiding embattled Ukraine.
We cannot grow weary. We cannot look away. and we will not let up on our support for Ukraine.
Burnishing both global U.S. leadership and his own legacy, Biden also using his speech to herald the virtues of democracy by detailing his own decision to pass the torch.
My fellow leaders, let us never forget, some things are more important than staying in power. It's your people that matter the most.
In Washington, Brian Abel, KPBS News.
Developers in the North County are hoping voters approve some changes they want to make to a commercial property project by way of ballot measure H. In a protest today, residents are saying they want voters to vote no. The plots of land are in a residential neighborhood along Espola Road and Good Eve Drive. Developers got approval in 2020 to build restaurants, a butterfly garden, and a small 3,000-foot gym. Now, the developers want to build a 30,000-foot commercial Lifetime Fitness gym.
I think it's really important to support local businesses and to create facilities that are built for local families. And I don't think it's our job to bring in money from Forest Ranch and Carmel Mountain and neighboring areas just in the name of tax dollars or income to the city.
Vanessa Springett, who is running for Powe City Council, says these lots should only be reserved for local businesses. Lifetime Fitness is a company based out of Minnesota. The city of Powe has approved the project on the condition that voters vote in favor of the changes. California Secretary of State Shirley Weber is encouraging more people to vote this November by hosting a series of voter education webinars. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen attended the first webinar this afternoon.
The purpose of today's webinar was to get voters familiar with what's on the ballot, how to make a plan to vote, and some key voter resources such as the Voter Information Guide and the Quick Reference Guide.
And it really is an at-a-glance view of statewide propositions that you will find on your ballot. And it is a quick reference guide. It's quick because you will find all key elements that may help you decide on how to vote all on one page.
According to the Public Policy Institute of California, 84% of likely voters say voting in this election is very important to them. This spans across the political spectrum, but voter turnout remains low. In the March primary, only 35% of registered voters cast a ballot. That's down 12 percentage points from the 2020 primary. But it's important to note that low voter turnout in the primary doesn't necessarily mean low voter turnout in the general election. The next webinar is this Monday. In the newsroom, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
A California bill would have expanded the number of languages offered on ballots, but the governor vetoed it. Coming up, why supporters call it a missed opportunity. A contract between Ace Parking and the City of San Diego has expired amid scrutiny of the company's hiring practices. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the lapse was unexpected.
Ace Parking has operated the garage at the city's downtown Central Library since at least 2019, but its contract expired in January. City staff say the lapse was an oversight due to chronic understaffing. On Monday, staff asked the City Council for a 5-year renewal of the contract with Ace, and Councilmember Henry Foster III voted no. He cited an equal opportunity contractor report showing underrepresentation at the company among women, Asians, Latinos, and Native Americans.
We see these types of deficiencies coming with just about every single contract that comes before us. And if we are going to take this seriously, then our actions need to show that this is serious.
The contract needed 6 votes to pass. With Foster's no and 3 council members absent, the motion to extend the contract failed. Ace Parking is headquartered in San Diego but has operations across the country. Owner Keith Jones told Foster he's proud of his company's record on equal opportunity hiring.
So I welcome working with the city. I welcome any sort of EOC audit, and I am committed to those things, sir. So I want to do business with the city for another 70 years.
The council will take up the contract extension again on November 12th. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
As a show of solidarity for striking employees at the Hilton Bayfront Hotel, a medical union says it will move its biennial convention. The United Nurses Associations of California Union of Healthcare Professionals was scheduled to hold its conference October 6th through the 9th, which brings around 1,000 delegates from California and Hawaii. But as 700 Bayfront workers have been striking since Labor Day with Unite Here Local 30, the medical union says they do not take this step lightly. The price of Ozempic and Wegovy took focus at a Capitol Hill hearing today. The debate underscoring the cost of obesity in America and the complexities of the U.S. healthcare system. Karen Kafa has the highlights from Washington.
The CEO of the pharmaceutical company that makes Ozempic and Wegovy in the hot seat before a Senate panel Tuesday.
We don't decide the price for patients. That's set by the insurance companies.
We heard from everybody in the world, and everyone blames everybody else.
Novo Nordisk Chief Executive Lars Jorgensen before the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee chaired by Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who wants to know why the diabetes and obesity drugs cost more in the U.S. than in other countries.
It is a profound moral issue.
As an example, Sanders says Americans pay $969 a month for Ozempic, compared to $155 in Canada and $59 in Germany. Jorgensen said drug prices go beyond just his company's control.
It is clear that patients too often struggle to navigate the complex U.S. healthcare system.
Jorgensen also said time spent on drug development costs money. The committee's top Republican, Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, a medical doctor, says that commitment requires a profit incentive.
We have to also examine how do we preserve that incentive for the innovation. That is the tension. How do we preserve? Because, by the way, if we stop developing new drugs, Alzheimer's won't be cured. Cancer won't be cured.
Jorgensen said his company will work with the committee on potential policy solutions that could help lower the drugs' costs. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
A shortage of apple crops is affecting Julian businesses gearing up for apple picking season. Businesses in the mountain town have had to find creative ways to keep the tourism from slowing down amid the shortage. In some cases, apple picking season has gone from 14 days to only 3. Our media partner, KGTV, spoke to some apple farmers about the shortage.
The worst year anybody can remember.
We bring in outside apples so that we can always offer those activities. This year we added 400 new apple trees to our orchard to help give us some more apples in the coming years.
Businesses in downtown Julian are also being impacted because of the decreasing foot traffic from apple pickers. Governor Gavin Newsome recently vetoed a bill that would have expanded the number of languages offered on ballots. KPBS Gloria Penner fellow Elaine Alfaro says that bill faced pushback from election officials who were concerned about the costs.
Translation and language services can look like a lot of different things, but in the context of voting, it's simple. Receiving voting materials in your first language. This access has come a long way since the National Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965. That law said there should be translations at the polls, but it only applies for Spanish, Asian, Native American, and Native Alaskan languages. California has since built on the national law to include more languages. In San Diego, that means an additional 4 languages.
But also we've seen at the local level in California, some leading municipalities like San Francisco and Oakland that have also passed language access laws and policies, San Diego as well. So we've seen this proliferation at the local level as well.
That was Jacob Hofstetter from the Migration Policy Institute. He's studied language access law across the nation. But those voting materials and languages required by state and local laws aren't on the actual ballots. Instead, they're on reference ballots. That doesn't necessarily translate to equitable voting access, according to Deanna Kitamura from the Asian Law Caucus, who are one of the sponsors of the bill. She says people don't actually get a ballot in their language to vote on.
But the language assistance is very limited. So what they're entitled to is what's called a facsimile ballot. What that is really is a translated reference ballot. And so you can't actually vote on it.
That's where this new bill was supposed to help.
And across the board, we heard that the facsimile ballots, that are translated reference ballots, they were better than nothing. but they were confusing, difficult to use.
The bill aimed to get rid of those reference ballots and require actual votable ballots in different languages. Rahamo Abdi from Pana, San Diego, says that could have made a huge difference for the communities that she works with.
So when they're comparing the English ballot to Somali ballot or the Arabic ballot, it was very difficult. So that's why it's so important for this AB 884 to get us a votable ballot.
But election officials had qualms. Jesse Salinas is the president of the California Association of Clerks and Election Officials.
So we'll double the amount of languages we would have to be able to provide. And one of the true challenges that we would have is translation.
He said technology, vendors, and funding couldn't meet the bill's new requirements.
What we've calculated is if you start just to reprogram that in LA, they did an assessment. It's going to cost in LA over $25 million.
The San Diego County Registrar of Voters declined to comment on the bill, but says even offering reference ballots takes a lot of work.
With our budget and the time available and the technology we have and the languages that can be supported by our vendors, we follow the law of the state of California and the federal law.
But Abdi still saw this bill as the next step.
Instead of really comparing facsimile ballot to the English ballot or just using community members or their kids to go vote, this should be a fundamental right for everyone.
Abdi said the veto of AB 884 was a missed opportunity for justice, but she says she's not giving up. Elaine Alfaro, KPBS News.
The Lincoln Club Business League of San Diego states on its website that it backs business-friendly candidates to help that local community thrive. The club has released a list of its endorsements of candidates running for local office. I spoke earlier today to Executive Director Victor Lopez about the group's views on the presidential race as part of our Public Matters initiative. So, Victor, 3 out of 4 Americans think that the upcoming presidential election is absolutely crucial to the future of U.S. democracy. From your corner as head of the Lincoln Club, how is this election playing out in the hearts and minds of your members?
Right now, in the election side, it's very polarized. A lot of people are voting emotionally when it comes to this, right? And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, these races really are very definitive on how it affects the federal down to the local side, and it's going to change everything.
So I did notice that in the list of the Lincoln Club endorsements, there was not one for president. Why?
We're the Lincoln Club, and people have known the Lincoln Club to be San Diego focused. It's really just the emphasis on the local impact of government and politics. You know, Lincoln Club's been around since 1983, over 40 years, and the reason people know the Lincoln Club is because of the effect and the impact that we have on San Diego County, and that's why you don't see anything at the federal side.
The Lincoln Club did endorse Republican Congressman Darrell Issa.
Yes.
Even though he is an election denier and he refused to certify the 2020 presidential election results, alleging widespread voter fraud falsely. Does the Lincoln Club believe that there was widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election? And if not, why would they endorse someone who believes this type of falsehood?
Darrell Issa has been around in the Lincoln Club for over a decade or two, and has done a lot for the local community in San Diego. The reason the Lincoln Club has supported Darrell Issa is just because he's been just such a great advocate for pro-jobs, pro-economy policies here in San Diego County, and that's why we have time and time again endorsed Darrell.
So does the Lincoln Club believe that there was voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election?
The Lincoln Club primarily focuses on San Diego County issues. That wasn't something that has been an active discussion at the club. We've primarily been focused on making sure that we have people that are advocating for free market principles and making sure that there's less taxes, less regulation. Inflation is up the roof right now. I think everybody in San Diego County is feeling that right now, and we really have been fighting. There's a couple of taxes that are on the measure for the ballot.
Victor, you were born and raised in Chula Vista. You're the son of Mexican immigrants. As you know, former President Trump has referred to immigrants as criminals, as animals. He has falsely accused Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, of abducting dogs and cats and eating them. What effect does this kind of talk have on society and on our election?
I think that the election is, I think everything that's said from both candidates is affected, right? Whether they're talking about immigration issues or fiscal issues or public safety, everything that is said at that level is going to affect the election side. And that's why it's important for people to be informed on both sides and fact checking and not getting their news from only one asset.
So in addition to abortion, the economy, immigration, and crime are flashpoints in this election. Let's look at each of these issues. What's the Lincoln Club's take on the economy?
The biggest thing we advocate as a pro-jobs for economy organization is that we want to reduce taxes as much as possible and reduce regulation from the federal government, even down to the local side. And ideally, we would like to see some more fiscal responsibility across all parties.
And talk to me about the Lincoln Club's view on immigration reform.
Those are more federal issues. I think that we all want a fair process entering into the country, but overall, that's more of an issue that doesn't really pertain to the endorsements that we provide. The candidates do have their individual platforms to push that out.
Crime has gone down in the first 6 months in San Diego and across the country. Are you satisfied?
Public safety is extremely important for businesses to succeed, and we are very big advocates of making sure that our streets are safe, that way our businesses can thrive.
Threats against local officials, elected officials, and otherwise are now a fact of life in San Diego. And civil discourse at public government meetings has become very uncivil. What's the solution?
I think people need to I give elected officials, something I actually really want to say is that I always give elected officials credit for taking on the job. It is a very difficult job, no matter what side of the aisle on or what you're representing, and it is public service. And I would like people to know that my philosophy is that I think everybody, I think, you know, whether you have one argument on one side, which is X, the other argument, which is Y, I think at the end of the day, Z is fixing San Diego County. X plus Y still equals Z at the end of the day. I think 99% of our elected officials in government want to make San Diego County a better place, but we just have very fundamental differences of how to get there.
Victor Lopez, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
A reminder, you can find all our Public Matters stories, events, and more online. Just go to kpbs.org/Public Matters.
It looks like high pressure is going to dominate the forecast here over the next couple of days. Because of that, some very warm weather is going to start to work its way to the west of the Rockies, and the west coast is going to be pretty mild as well here as we head into the weekend. For tonight, I'm tracking low clouds near the coast. Overnight temperatures will be a mix of mid-60s here. It'll be a little bit muggy, a little bit breezy from time to time, but overall, weather will pretty much cooperate. Overnight lows will be a mix of mid to upper 50s to mid 60s here for tonight. 61 for Oceanside and Camp Pendleton, 65 in San Diego. The inner areas will be a mix of 50s, 60s, even some 70s in the desert region. But then as we head into tomorrow, this is going to be your Wednesday forecast. Take a look at this. We will see a mix of 70s, 80s, 90s, and yes, even some triple digits. Getting pretty hot back up in the desert regions here for your Wednesday afternoon. Looks like we'll tap 73. Really nice weather for San Diego. But then future track radar is showing that starting tonight, we'll see a lot of cloud coverage off the coast. Now, some of that cloud coverage will try to work its way to the north of Redding, but overall, it looks like it's going to stay clear, and it looks like it's going to stay dry because even as we head into Thursday, pretty much not a cloud in the sky. And here's your setup for Thursday. That warm weather that I was talking about for tomorrow is going to turn into hot weather here as we head into Thursday. Some parts, especially across northern Arizona, will see record-breaking temperatures possible here as we head into the weekend. For that 5-day forecast here along the coast, I'm tracking sunny skies. Highs will be in the mid-70s. Lows tonight will be in the 60s, but after that, we'll start to see lows dipping into the 50, so it will be a little bit of a taste of fall time here as we head into early parts of next week. Inland temperatures will be a mix of upper 70s to low 80s with lows in the mid 50s, but notice a pattern here. No rain chances here in the forecast as we head into the weekend. The mountainous regions will see temperatures in the 70s with lows in the 50s and 60s. It does look like we'll warm up by the end of the weekend, and then after that, here as you look at the desert forecast, triple-digit temperatures peaking on Friday.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, on another day of deadly Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon, President Biden pushes for peace at the UN. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The Padres are in the final stretch of the regular season with a lot on the line. It starts tonight in Los Angeles with the 3-game series against the Dodgers. If the Padres win all 3 games, they'll take the lead in their division, which would give them better positioning in the playoffs. The postseason is almost a lock, with the Padres needing just 1 win in their final 6 games this week to clinch a spot. And you need to see this video. There's a new baby to celebrate. The first aardvark calf ever born at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park was born in July. First-time mom Padme is often seen nursing and grooming her new calf. The mom and baby are currently bonding in the privacy of their burrow and not yet on view for the public, but may soon be ambassadors to their species. The name aardvark is derived from Afrikaans and translates to earth pig. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amita Sharma. Have a great day.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.